Dr. Ron Milnes pleased his grandfather, Alfred Waddell's being recognized in the new Cogswell District, near where he lived and worked as a doctor through the 1930s into the early 1950s.
He's an unsung hero because people don't know all the things that he actually accomplished.
One of the first black doctors to graduate from Dalhousie, where there's still a display honoring him today, he went on to dedicate his life to serving communities that had limited access to healthcare. He was one of the only physicians of his time to make house calls to the historically black communities of Africville, Beechville, and the Prestons.
He advocated for better conditions in these communities, especially Africville, where there were issues with clean water and other services that the people weren't being provided, even though they were paying taxes in the city.
Born in Trinidad and Tobago, he moved to Halifax, where he found things a lot different, as explained in a documentary film about his life.
Well, at that time in Halifax, racial discrimination was rampant. Most students who came from the Caribbean or from other countries who had a dark skin were not welcome. Apparently, he couldn't find a place to stay, and he came and asked my mother if she could accommodate him, which she did.
But he stayed in Halifax with his family and became a champion of civil rights.
He was humble, but he was fearless. He wasn't afraid to take on the powers that be and to advocate for people and for those, less fortunate in society.
Waddell's perhaps best known as the doctor who treated Viola Desmond after she was arrested in New Glasgow when she refused to leave a whites-only section of a theatre in 1946.
And after she was beaten up and thrown in jail, she came to him. He treated her injuries, but he was very upset about what had happened to her.
His compassion and sense of justice inspired the writer and director of the 2001 documentary film Before His Time.
There is so much conflict in the world that I think we need to hear stories like Dr. Waddell, who, despite all the adversaries, set out on a path to do good.
The Cogswell area where many of his patients lived is where Dr. Alfred Waddell Street will be. Halifax hopes to highlight the cultural significance and contributions of the African Nova Scotian community. Waddell's daughter, Winifred, who was shown in the documentary and is now 98, is pleased to see it's finally happening, while his grandson is also continuing his legacy.
There's still inequities, disparities in income and healthcare and housing, so many areas of life. So, yeah. It's still a battle going on, no doubt about it.
Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Halifax.